Lynette, do you want to come up and do the transport operations report, and then we'll go into public.
No, you can stay quiet. Nice to see you this morning.
So we'll take the report as read, but you touch on the highlights you want to.
So I wanted to do a little a quick intro on this report, as much because there's been quite a lot of activity since this report was written. We talked about some highlights this morning with the capital report, but from a business perspective, with the weather events that we've had, and we had discussion questions earlier in the morning, I did want to acknowledge the work that the team had done, and with the Three Waters team, so Gavin's team and my team worked really, really hard through those events, and there was a lot of work done. I wanted to highlight the work that is done ahead of those events arriving. The teams get together and work really closely together to ensure that critical infrastructure is cleared and ready for the rains that are coming. And that particularly is the case for outfalls along the beach. Acknowledging that if the tides are wrong, they can silt up pretty quickly, but they do clear them. And a few years ago, we were really seeing some flooding in Sumner Village, and that's not happening. And that's partly because, and it didn't happen in this last big rain, and that's partly because this team get together and work really, really hard to do all that in the front end. That rain also happened in leaf fall season, which made it doubly difficult because there's lots of leaves around blocking all these sumps and gullies. But when we went back and checked, all the sumps were clear, the gullies were clear, the critical ones were ready for the work, and the team worked really hard. I do want to highlight to remind you that the road space is part of the storage space when we have heavy rains like that. We would rather see the roads flooded and not great to pass than people's houses. And in the city, I know there was some on the peninsula, but in the city, we didn't, to the best of our knowledge, we didn't have anyone flooded in their houses. So between the Three Waters team and the transport team, civil defence, and all the governance staff that helped us through that, I do want to pass on publicly my thanks, and Gavin, on behalf of Gavin as well. We still have some work to do over in the peninsula. There's a lot of areas that have had slips or washouts, and of course we still have the big slip that's doing or not doing its thing over on Lighthouse Road. And at the moment, people are back in their houses. That slip is being monitored and you can travel across it, but there's still a lot of work going on, and we've still got a lot of work to do. We highlighted this morning that we think the numbers, it's about 12 to 18 million, I think, is where we're sitting with our numbers at the moment. We've still got work to do. We know that it has been accepted by NZTA as a weather event. It has been logged in their system, so we'll be working with them to make sure we get the funds. When you see a project pop up in your system that says FY25 weather event, that's us trying to isolate the costs of recovery from weather events, so that we can then have those conversations clearly with the NZTA, and they know what we're talking about. We know what they're talking about. Now, I know that Andrew Bullock was out on the peninsula with NZTA reps last week, so that's all underway. And the final thing on the weather event is when we get roads flooded like that, we usually close them, and it's not just because we don't want wash and people travelling through it. They don't know what's in there. Often potholes form that are quite serious and severe in those conditions, and it can cause quite significant damage. It's reminding everybody that those potholes will be filled, but when we get the first frost, they'll probably blow. A number of them will blow, and we will go back and fill them. And we will come back in the summer and fix them properly when the road has dried out. So water is a reasonably insidious thing to work with, and it gets into that surface, and when it freezes, it cracks everything and blows the pothole. So people might think that we're not fixing it properly. We're actually doing what we need to do to be cost effective, and we'll come back in the summer and fix it once and for all. There was a couple of other things that I did want to highlight that we've been asked questions of, particularly around programs and the innovation for our asset management. There was a talk recently about new innovations, and we've provided you information before about the laser measured deflectometers, or the LMD, that tells us information about the strength of the road underneath the surface. And we already use that to try and inform our decision making. We're building that knowledge base up so that to inform our programs, to better inform our programs and better inform our case for funding from NZTA. Really, that is a big build for us to the next LTP. So that is us gathering all of this information together. So we've got the current LTP year that we're in, and I know we're currently doing an annual plan. We are shifting and adjusting programs as we will continue to do into the future, even with all this data. And we will be talking regularly to you all at community board level about those programs. We're due to come back and talk about the street renewal programs with all the boards over the next few months. So so that's all happening. But yeah, so that's it for me. There's a lot more information coming, particularly on how we make our decisions around what surfacing to do, surfacing and rehab programs.
Cool. Hey, thank you for
Sure.
that. That's great. That's a really good update. So I've got Tyler, then Tyrone, Sarah, Phil, and Kelly, and Celeste and Yanni,
G'day guys.
and Mark.
Thank you so much for delivering Church Corner and Dean's, by the way.
Yes.
They look great and they're really good roads.
That's the lady behind me.
Thank you. And the contractors were also phenomenal.
Right.
And the question I've got is around, first of all, fly tipping and waste management, also the sweeping. So from memory, in the first annual plan that I was in, I did want an overview of the circuit that we ran in terms of how we maintain the roads with sweeping, litter, things like that. How are you changing? How are you changing that work plan with the uptick in fly tipping and excess litter?
We're doing a lot more monitoring around fly tipping around hotspots, and we've got some cameras that are being used. And the team, my understanding is, and unfortunately Steve was the guru on this and he's not with us anymore, so we're catching up, is they have a bit more of a regulated program to go around and pick them up. So they pick them up instead of responding to a request and going out and coming back, they're doing a circuit to check the hotspots, each of the contractors is, and that's bringing our costs down. So they're being picked up more regularly, but they're also doing a regular route rather than a out and back, so it's much more efficient.
184 million for the Burwood Wood is massive between 1st July 24 and March 25. Oh, sorry, 1,000. Jeez, I was going to say.
Yeah, that 184 million is a big amount.
Oh my God, what the heck?
Okay, so we
But
good to go.
yeah, the next question was around the sweeping.
Yep.
So we do the sweeping circuits, right, in terms of litter, leaf pickup, removal, etc. In places that have excess waste, we'll call it waste.
Yeah.
How is that monitored? Because you said last time it was based off reporting, but is there active workers out there looking at the areas by themselves, or is it just based off reporting? Because if we look at that, the underrepresented wards would probably be reporting less in comparison to somewhere around here, which would actually offset the data.
No, it's mainly based off reporting. I'd have to say that, but look, let me come back with that, particularly on the sweeping rounds. And the sweeping rounds are more about, and there will be more on sweeping in the next report, which will be the year-end results. So
Okay.
can I look to update the next report on that? But I'll give you an idea about the fly tipping before then.
Yeah, just offline around a roving monitor or something like that.
Okay, Tyrone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, I'd like to just on the point around what happened in the peninsula during the rain event. The performance of the network was really brilliant, and so thank you for that.
Thank you.
It was markedly obvious in Littleton how much better it performed, apart from one small bit that we can talk about later. But just so 2 questions. So one, just related to that. So were there any like obvious kind of culvert failures in any of the roads and the bays around the peninsula? I'm not aware of any. And the second question is, what invariably will happen at this time of year is I'll start getting calls from residents from Diamond Harbour and Governors Bay that the gutters in Councillor Scandrett's part of Dyers Pass Road are not adequately swept. Sorry, that's just because I'm just rubbing your tongue. But you know, there concerns about surface flooding and icing up during the winter time, and are we taking any steps to mitigate that?
So the team have from a winter perspective, the team have a different strategy with how they monitor and make sure that that doesn't happen. I'll raise it again with the team that it's something to be aware of. As far as
Just get ahead of it before
yeah.
the calls start coming in. Yeah.
As far as the culverts on the peninsula, we actually didn't have any culvert failures, but we did have one where around the culvert washed out. That's Bosso Road.
Oh, okay,
That
right.
dog coming. Culvert stayed in place, but everything around it washed out.
Yep, no, that's cool. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much again.
Sarah?
Thanks. Two things. Firstly, with the pothole stuff, and yeah, around the table we've had lots of information, and we kind of understand the whys and wherefores and where you can do potholes and things. Last term, we discussed that there was going to be some like videos done, sort of public facing, something that education for the community that was
Stuff on the website.
videos and things, or just
I don't know what's on the website.
yeah, I think the Russian stuff, when we're trying to get out to our communities, just sharing a link to the website with some graphics or some videos, some education so that people understand how and why we fix potholes and do that road smoothing kind of stuff would really help people understand and maybe lower the angst and stuff like that we get from the community. And I think that would be really useful in that space and help people understand. The second one on the lighting and the street lighting, I had a response back from my query around lighting around the hospital precinct, and heard that there was an assessment happening for the lighting in that area, which is great. So if we could find out when that's done and what's going to happen with that, that would be really cool. And the other one in that area, I was told that there could be a SIP test, because we've never done a SIP test for that area, and so I was told that we could scope a SIP test with Te Whatu Water Health New Zealand.
As long as they're up for it.
If they're up for it, I think they will be now. There's another nurse attached this morning, and probably with the police as well. But what I didn't know was what triggers that. So do we need a resolution to trigger that SIP test report, or would you guys?
We would typically only do SIP. We would typically only do SIP reports where we're away from main thoroughfares. This is you're talking about doing a SIP report along a road that's vastly not different to any other road in the city. So that's why we would typically not do it. But we can take we have got your query in, and we will look through the system and I'll go back and get some feedback on what's planned.
Yeah.
So they are doing a lighting assessment to check that the lux levels are correct for that area.
And it's not just the lux levels, but sometimes the I love the trees down that area. But like I know from personal experience walking through there, sometimes the trees are growing under the lights and the branches.
But that's part of the assessment to see whether there's enough light at the right level.
Yeah.
At pedestrian level.
Yeah. But I think that a SIP report for that area.
I will need to work in with Broken on that too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, then I've got Phil, Kelly, Celestiani and Mark.
Thanks, Lynette. Hey, I heard the other day that the asphalting of Madras Street was held up because of the problem with the brick barrel thing. I drove through it last night, not through it, but around it last night. Is that nearly done so they can asphalt that?
Oh, it's Kaha.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as I understand, the bit where they knew they had an issue was they were also doing investigations along the brick barrel. So as long as there's no other problem, then yeah.
Yeah, no, they haven't filled it in yet and asphalted it, but they must be still working on it. And
Yeah.
One question I had was, and I think you're bringing something to us. When Te Kaha's open, it's all good. Are we going to? We will be doing traffic management there, but will we shut one lane of each of those one-way streets down so buses can park right outside, or do they all go to the bus exchange?
There's bus and coach parking on the Barbados and
Chewham
sides. It's already been built. Bus and coach parking's been built into the design.
That's those inlays on the side, it's not,
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
that-
the south.
That will be made available for bus and coach parking
okay,
at
yeah,
event time. That's what is.
okay, no, that's right, that was on.
There will be traffic management at events, and it will be different depending on the size of the event.
How's the bus gate department going? Have you had any?
Still bags over it as far as I know.
Okay.
No, it hasn't been, and to my understanding is there haven't been any main issues. So.
Okay, and with the stuff that's out at the moment, for the maybe, and I don't know where it's at, but maybe doing away with the slip lane off Morehouse Ave into Madras Street. Where is that? That just goes to Comboard, it doesn't come to us, or has it gone to Comboard yet?
It's going straight to council.
Oh, sorry, it is going straight to council, thank you.
Hopefully, next month.
Hopefully next month.
So it's out for consultation still, is it?
No, consultation's finished. We're just working through all of the submissions. So that's what we do. Straight to council.
Excellent. And lastly, the very good work on Fitzgerald corner with I love green arrows. And I've already mentioned it to Brent, but if we can have a wee deco at somehow getting some green arrows from, I know there's red ones there, from Island Road into Memorial, either way, something not good there.
I'm looking to provide you some advice on how we determine whether we can do green arrows or not. Because the same question has come up with the upgrade that we're doing on at Heaton, Innes, Papanui intersection, and those green arrows as well. And these points at which it becomes the intersection actually blows out sometimes with.
Thank you.
That Heaton and this Rutland.
Heaton, Innes, Papanui.
Was that a superhero, Green Arrow?
Okay, Kelly.
Yeah, I was gobsmacked to hear that you only do a permanent solution for potholes in summer. Because knowing that would have been actually really useful.
You do now.
Yeah, so and you were saying that there's information on that. I'm just looking for it now.
I'll find it and make sure it's sent to you.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then we'll get some information.
I'm gonna do a little video about it tomorrow. Thanks.
Oh, Celeste.
Sorry if you've touched on this, but in terms of NZTA and the kind of markings around the flooding, there is often kind of an issue in some of those areas where there's a bit of a crossover, like Pages Road and Anzac Drive, and the same road floods every year. But in terms of comms with NZTA around putting up signage at an appropriate time, have you got any sort of feedback from them about their response? Because often what happens is people think it's council not putting signage up, and that one corner floods every time, and it's quite dangerous.
We haven't got feedback from one. We haven't got feedback. So the interactions we've had with NZTA today have been about funding.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so
something that
we will feed it back into the lessons learned from the
That'd be great. And the other just quick comment is appreciation for the work that was done, because I know that obviously Biggs Peninsula got the worst of it, but the response across the peninsula is really fantastic. So thank you.
Okay, I'll go Mark and then Yanni. And,
Talking about green arrows, do we have a program getting left turn green arrows as well as right turn? Because I've seen around where left turn movement could easily move, sitting there on a red signal, same time as the other.
I'll look to get that back in as part of the advice. Jim is listening to me, so she'll help me figure out what right people about how signals function.
Then also the footpath program.
The briefing coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get eyes on that.
Yeah,
It's coming in the next month.
Coming in the next month.
One of the, I asked, and I think, there was a program going on Prince Road through to Hawthorne Junction.
Yep.
And they've been digging up precisely the place we'd like to stick a footpath as a community. Is there any concept and thought that we could link the transport and the three waters over the state trench? They could actually just stick a footpath there while you're there.
And we try really hard to coordinate our works, and it works a lot of the time, and we've got a lot of examples and projects where we are coordinating, and we've talked about them today. We're even trying to coordinate at the moment with other organisations like Orion, so we're doing work with Orion. out in Council Coker's area to do some intersections. It doesn't always work, and Three Waters work is not always Three Waters work. Sometimes it's developer work as well. So if it's developer work or private development work, it's a lot harder to coordinate, but we do try. But I'll take that as a site and make a note of it.
So Tyler's got a really small question, then I'm gonna finish with Yanni.
It's in reference to the customer experience, particularly when works are unfinished. So Dean's Ave, for example, when there was a flood, there were significant potholes, and my friend put a cone in one of the big potholes. My friend. And so what I'm asking here is I'm asking around the agility for contractors to be able to move proactively or reactively really fast into remediating the works that are of importance. How does that work? Because what happens essentially is I go to CCC and they said that they're going to contact the contractor. Is that the case?
Yep.
And
if you solve it as a health and safety issue, like so I've done it myself. There was a pothole. It was causing the cars to swerve into the cycle lane. I put it through as a health and safety issue.
Yeah.
I said, this is a health and safety issue. There could be an accident. They were out within 2 hours.
That's correct.
So there are levels of service that require that. Yeah.
So basically put them all down as health and safety issues.
Yeah, that's it.
They will go out and check, and if it isn't, they will go away and do another one that is. So they do try and triage it, but yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah, no, it is, it's good. They have got their levels of service. They do try after the big weather events. It tends to be a bit of a they do a bit of a chalk around the city, so it can take a bit longer.
So what's faster, Snapchat Solve or CCC?
Doesn't matter. Call centre goes direct to contractor, and Snapchat Solve goes direct to contractor.
Okay, so Yanni, and then we're gonna move on.
Was wondering if we could get some advice or update on the use of glyphosate in terms of the maintenance.
Oh, it's been a while since I've had that question. I can't provide you anything for you.
Oh, I mean, not now, but I just wondered if we could just get some information about.
I'll probably struggle with that for a wee while because of just the staff members.
It's okay.
Just retired, so we'll come back,
Yeah,
but it might be a couple of months.
Yeah, that's fine. And just wanted to check, so the IT stuff was really good that we got at the Innovation Expo. And I know staff have identified top 10 roads for rehabilitation, and it's just a coincidence that the councillor from Linwood was there and the map they had was of the Linwood area.
Yeah.
So I got to see where the red was in my ward. And so like I know there's a lot more work that needs to happen around some of those assessments, but actually if we know something now, like Ferry Road was the one that stood out to me, is there a way that we can just get some consideration of that sooner rather than later? That we can tie it into other projects that we're doing in space?
No, and yes and no is the answer. Sorry. And Ferry Road as an example there is a portion of Ferry Road, and I know we're doing another project down there, but this would be work that would be done. So the team have looked at it, and they don't believe it's absolutely critical right now, but that it is on the consideration list.
It was the highest ranked street.
Yeah, I understand that. It's a proportion of a street, not the whole street. It's a section. So there'll be a section, and the team are looking at it. So they are trying to use that information, and we did exactly that when we looked at Amy's Road, and that's going ahead. So we're trying to do that within what we've got.
Yeah, you got any more, Yanni? Because then we're gonna.
In terms of thank you for the detailed on looking to learn more about the crash data and the safety data. I think that would be that's really good. I just wondered, like, when I see the sort of I don't know what you call it, the arrow chart goes across on page 265 around crash investigation process.
Hang on, sorry. Yeah.
I just wondered, that one. Do you talk? I mean, I'm just mindful there's some intersections where we're not getting major or fatal crashes, but we might be getting, a lot of crashes causing damage to vehicles. Do you talk to the insurance companies to get records of their data? Because a lot of those crashes won't be reported to the police, but they will be reported to the insurance companies.
No, the bulk of our data comes from, our data comes from the CAS database, which is, our data comes from the CAS database.
Is that something that we could potentially explore?
I don't know that we've necessarily got the resource to do that. And I'm not sure about the value of it, so we'd have to.
Okay, so we're basically there now. So that's been moved by Phil and seconded by Pauline. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, that's carried. Great, thank you very much.